Welcome to the journey of Mr. Ballin, also known as John Allen. He's a former Navy SEAL whose life has taken this really, well, unexpected and fascinating turn into online storytelling.
Absolutely. And today, we're diving deep into those key moments, the decisions that really shaped his path.
Yeah, we want to try and understand the driving forces behind his, let's call it, evolution, from his early days through the military and now into this huge career as a content creator.
It's quite a story. You've got his childhood, the sheer intensity of Navy SEAL training, BD, basic underwater demolition SEAL training, then combat.
Right.
The struggle coming back to civilian life, and then this whole other chapter nobody saw coming in the digital world.
So much to unpack. Let's start at the beginning. Quincy, Massachusetts.
Right. Blue-collar town,
Yeah.
strong Irish Catholic community, very into New England sports, you know the type.
Sounds pretty grounded, but his family background is interesting, isn't it?
It really is, because his mother was a radio host, a journalist. His father won a Pulitzer Prize in journalism, and his older sister, 2 Pulitzer Prizes.
Yes.
So storytelling, communication, it's clearly in the blood, even if that wasn't his first direction.
Definitely. And he wasn't dreaming of fatigues as a kid, apparently. Played with G.I. Joes, sure, but the military wasn't really on his radar.
Not seriously,
Yeah.
no. But then 9/11 happened. He was in 7th grade.
Yeah, that hits hard at that age.
And then later, seeing friends enlist right after high school, that seems to have sparked something, feeling of, responsibility,
Yeah.
duty.
A sense he needed to serve. Yeah. Yeah. But college first, right? UMass Amherst didn't go so well initially.
No, he called it pathetic, actually. Said he was pretty resentful his parents made him go, leave his friends. Ended up moving back home. His parents had divorced when he was about 13, so he moved into his mother's basement. Sounds like a real low point.
Yeah, definitely a feeling of being a bit lost, maybe.
Seems like it. But then working at the local YMCA, commuting to UMass Boston, that period seems, well, maybe more formative, kind of getting himself together.
Right, building some discipline, perhaps.
Yeah.
And then comes this pivotal moment, around 2008.
Yeah, the gym encounter. He meets these former Navy SEALs. Just a chance meeting, but it changed everything.
What was it about them, do you think?
Well, from what he says, it was their stories about reinvention, how the SEAL teams were this meritocracy, a place where you could basically become a new version of yourself.
Ah, okay.
And he felt like he'd kind of, screwed up in high school, early college.
Right.
So the idea of becoming the Navy SEAL version of himself was really appealing. A fresh start built on merit.
That makes sense. Plus, his friends were serving overseas at the time.
Exactly. That was another motivator. And he had this really intense initial ambition.
The quote about dying in a hail of gunfire.
Yeah, become a SEAL, go to war, and die in a hail of gunfire.
Yeah.
He's clear it wasn't suicidal, but more like the ultimate form of self-recreation. Very extreme.
Wow. And maybe a bit influenced by pop culture, too.
Seems like it. He mentioned the video game SOCOM U.S. Navy SEALs. Seeing the SEALs is just the absolute best in the business.
So he decides to go for it. BUDS. Legendary for being incredibly tough.
Unbelievably tough. And interestingly, he said his father initially had doubts he could make it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that doubt, ironically, became this huge motivator for him, like, I'll show him. It really fueled his determination not to quit.
That's fascinating how doubt can just light a fire under you sometimes.
Totally. He went in confident, even knowing he had weaknesses, like maybe water stuff, but his attitude was sort of, I'll deal with it when I get there.
Proactive. And he mentioned being aware of the quitters, right? The green helmet.
Oh, yeah. And the bell they ring when they quit. Hearing that bell, seeing those helmets just constantly reminded him what he wasn't going to do.
Must have been intense pressure. He even found some dark humor in Hell Week, though.
He did, yeah, with his swim buddy. Just the sheer absurdity and misery of it all, but also acknowledging, like, wow, we're actually doing this. This is the dream, even while suffering.
That's quite a mindset. What kept him going through that?
2 big things he mentioned for Hell Week. Not wanting to disappoint his wife. He had her name written in his hat. And proving his father wrong. Powerful stuff.
Definitely. He even experienced hallucinations.
Yeah, during the around-the-world paddling, from the extreme sleep deprivation, it just shows the limits they push you to, physically and mentally.
Incredible. And there was that CS gas incident later on.
Right, in 3rd phase. Embarrassing for him at the time, he said, but a real learning moment about being a good teammate, about how your actions affect everyone.
Always learning, but the biggest hurdle for him was the pool competency, wasn't it? OC8.
Oh, absolutely. That almost took him out.
Yeah.
He failed the first 4 times. Pure panic underwater, he described it.
Wow, 4 times. That must have been crushing.
Totally demoralizing. He was apparently close to being dropped from the course entirely. It highlights how even determined people can have these specific phobias or triggers.
So what happened? How did he get past it?
Well, he got rolled back. First a performance roll after a review board gave him another shot, then another roll for a medical issue, swimmer-induced pulmonary edema.
So he had to start parts of the training over with new classes.
Exactly. He ended up classing up with Class 291. And ironically, because he'd been through pool comp already, he found himself helping the new guys who were struggling with it.
Huh, the guy who kept failing is now teaching it.
Pretty much. But then, incredibly, he failed again. Not from panic this time, but like minor procedural errors. Nerves, maybe. The pressure must have been immense.
Unbelievable. So the final attempt.
He described it as getting into this state of intense focus, almost calm, like a flow state. Everything just clicked, and he passed.
Finally. Getting that Trident after all that must have felt monumental.
Oh, absolutely. He called it an unparalleled achievement, a very personal victory, but also public, after struggling so openly with that specific test.
So BUDS is done. Then comes SQT, SEAL qualification training.
Right, that's where they learn the actual tactics, the operational stuff. He said that graduation weekend was just glorious, finally sinking in.
I bet. Did he call his dad?
He thinks that was probably the first call, yeah.
Yeah.
To tell him he graduated and invite him to the ceremony. A big moment, given the earlier doubts.
Full circle. Okay, so training's done, Trident's pinned. Time to join a team.
Yep, checked into SEAL Team 2 in Virginia Beach. This would be around late 2011, maybe 2012, after a brief, not very effective stint at language school.
And checking in, easy transition.
Not at all. He said it was intensely intimidating. Felt like a total imposter because he was the new guy, no deployment ribbons, nothing.
The new guy feeling, even after BDS.
Exactly. He walks in and encounters this SEAL, just back from deployment beard, facial scar. Looks super intimidating.
Oh, boy.
But the guy actually ended up helping him out, still. Then he walks into the main team room. It's full of SEALs, just back from a really gnarly deployment in Afghanistan. They'd taken casualties recently, and he just felt completely, profoundly out of place. Like, what am I doing here?
Wow, talk about a reality check. The difference between training and the real deal.
Huge difference. He even got hazed a bit, asked to sing songs, that kind of thing. Just underscored that finishing BUDS, just the ticket in, not the whole journey.
But he did eventually integrate, found his place.
Yeah, he did. Found that sense of purpose, felt like he belonged. And then came deployment. Afghanistan, October 2013.
Okay, so deployment time.
Interestingly, the platoon he joined had just gotten back from a deployment when he first arrived at the team.
Okay.
So he got what he called a nice, long post-deployment break or professional development. Did dive supervisor school, more training.
Gotcha. So it wasn't immediate action.
No, but the unit-level training, ULT, that was big. Applying the swivel house stuff with experienced guys, seeing the difference between theory and combat-tested reality.
Learning from the veterans.
Definitely. He mentioned being really impressed by the senior enlisted leaders in his platoon.
And they thought they were going somewhere else initially.
Yeah, the plan was maybe South America non-combat, but their platoon performed well in training, so they got tapped for Afghanistan instead.
And how did he feel about that, going to a combat zone?
Excited. He saw it as the chance to finally put all that training to use for real.
Right. So Afghanistan, whereabouts?
Logar province near Kabul. They were operating along Route Utah, which was apparently notorious for IEDs.
Okay, dangerous area. And the mission?
Primarily trying to stop suicide bombers heading into Kabul. Their base was near a town called Zargar, a known hotspot. Team 8 had been there before them, had some tough fights.
So the outgoing team was probably ready to leave?
Oh yeah, he said they were very focused on the turnover, eager to get out.
Any memorable early missions?
His very first planned mission sounded surreal. Briefed on clearing a mountain at night with knives against sleeping fighters.
With knives? Seriously?
Yeah. The mission got rolled, called off, but still. Wild first brief.
No kidding. What about his first time actually going outside the wire?
Exhilarating, but also terrifying, he said. But that feeling, the constant risk, it eventually just became routine, almost normal.
That adaptation is incredible, isn't it?
It is. He found this weird Zen mode, he called it. Felt the mission was important, targeting really bad people. Though towards the end of the deployment, he felt a stronger desire to be more cautious, avoid needless risks.
Understandable. Did he experience direct combat early on?
First time getting shot at was from a distance. His element was providing overwatch while another cleared a village. Said the initial thrill eventually turned into more of a feeling of just rolling the dice. And even some resentment, he mentioned, because of restrictive rules of engagement sometimes. Plus, real physical anxiety, like getting breathless when the shooting started.
That sounds intense. How often were they going out?
Pretty often. Every third day, sometimes every other day. Lots of ops. He was often responsible for a partner force of Afghan soldiers, too.
So lots of patrols, missions, but not always firefights.
Right. Most ops didn't involve direct contact, but he estimated maybe 10 to 20 times they did get into firefights.
Okay. Which brings us to the incident, his last night in country.
Yeah. An operation back in Zargar, that hotspot town. It had become their main focus because of all the intel about fighters there.
Right.
He mentioned some tension in the platoon already. Some guys felt they were doing too many ops that seemed designed just to go get into a gunfight.
Okay, so maybe some reservations about this particular mission.
Yeah, the briefing for this one, just a stomp through Zargar, apparently felt kind of low level, maybe unnecessary to some. And Zargar itself was different, more urban, buildings close together, alleys, not the usual spread out villager.
Like call challenges.
Yeah, definitely. So they patrol in broad daylight, and surprisingly, nothing happens at first. Quiet.
Okay.
They stop behind a wall on the edge of town. And then they overhear enemy radio chatter.
What did it say?
Basically, the fighters knew they were there and they were ready, talking about fighting to the death, a suicide mission, firing from second-story buildings.
Whoa, so they walked right into...
Pretty much.
Yeah.
They realized they were in a really vulnerable spot, made the decision to push forward into the city through a known choke point.
And that's when it happened.
As soon as they entered a courtyard. Ambush, machine gun fire, shots from upper floors. Intense.
Anyone hit?
Their Afghan partner force guys got hit, and the team dog. But no SEALs in that first volley, somehow.
Lucky start. But the fight was on.
Oh, yeah. Kicked off a 6-hour firefight. Sporadic, moving through the city. They thought the enemy might be using tunnels to just disappear and reappear. Super frustrating.
Trying to fight ghosts almost?
Kind of. Engaging when they had a clear shot. Enemy firing. But the constant presence, knowing they were somewhere. Terrifying. He mentioned having to do solo entries into buildings.
Just you going into a dark building, knowing someone might be waiting.
Exactly. So hours go by. It's late at night now. His fire team is closest to the front edge of Zargar.
Okay.
A drone overhead spots a group of military-aged males huddled behind a wall, right on their likely way out.
Potential threat.
That's how the team leader saw it. Believed they posed an immediate threat. Maybe holding grenades, pins pulled, ready. Made the call to engage them.
Right.
So their team starts firing, and almost immediately, 2 grenades come sailing over the wall towards them.
Oh, no.
One hits him in the shoulder, bounces, and lands right next to him.
Right next to it.
Yeah. He's looking through his night vision goggles. There's this flashing IR strobe from the drone lighting things up, and he just watches this grenade explode.
Unbelievable.
Threw him backwards. Intense ringing in his ears, temporary blindness. Totally disoriented, but knew he had to move.
Adrenaline must have been off the charts. Was anyone else hurt by that blast?
Yeah, a Marine nearby was also injured by the same grenade, and the firefight was still going on around them while they were trying to secure the area, treat the wounded. Total chaos. He was eventually extracted, got medical attention. Reports varied on how many enemy fighters were actually involved in that whole engagement. At least 2, maybe up to 7. Hard to know for sure in the confusion.
Just an incredibly intense end to his deployment.
The very last night.
Yeah.
Then he's flown out really fast.
Very fast.
Like 8 days later, he was home. Very quick. And apparently no formal debriefing process, which seems odd.
Yeah, that seems like a misstep. How was he adjusting back home?
Rough. Really rough. He talked about feeling intense resentment towards civilians, being totally disconnected. He called it being in the red.
That disconnect is something you hear about, that feeling of alienation.
Definitely. He told this story about getting into it with his HOA over a rusty chimney cap.
A chimney cap?
Yeah. It just highlights how jarring the return is, right?
Yeah.
Going from life and death situations to worry about chimney caps, the priorities are just worlds apart.
Absolutely. So the military chapter ends sooner than planned.
Yeah, he ended up medically retiring earlier than he'd expected because of the injuries.
And what did he do next? That transition must be tough for anyone, especially from the teams.
It is. And he actually co-founded a nonprofit to help with exactly that, called Elite Meet.
Okay, Elite Meet. What was the focus?
Helping other transitioning elite veterans, special operators, fighter pilots, folks like that connect with the business world, networking with hiring managers, CEOs.
Bridging that gap.
Yeah,
Because translating those military skills can be hard, right?
exactly. He realized these guys often struggle to articulate just how valuable their experience is in civilian terms. So Elite Meat acted as a kind of broker or translator between those two worlds.
Smart. Did he do that alone?
No, he partnered with an entrepreneur named Jordan Selig, who he actually met on LinkedIn. Selig became a mentor, really pushed him on networking.
LinkedIn. Interesting connection.
Yeah, Selig had reached out asking for advice for a fighter pilot friend who was transitioning. Led to the partnership.
So did Elite Meat take off?
Yeah, their first event in New York, maybe 2017 or 2018, was a big success. Showed there was a real need. He was CEO for a couple of years.
How was that, being CEO?
He learned he was better at the fundraising side than the day-to-day management, which is pretty self-aware. The organization is still going strong today under new leadership.
Good for him. And did that experience spark anything else?
It did. Doing the marketing for Elite Meat, especially on LinkedIn, got him thinking about social media's power.
Uh-huh. The seed is planted.
Sort of. He started experimenting himself, sharing personal stuff on LinkedIn, Instagram, mostly SEAL stories.
How did that go down?
Not great initially, actually.
Okay, check.
He admits his first attempts came off as kind of braggadocious.
Ugh.
Got some negative feedback from the SEAL community, which is very tight-knit about that stuff.
Yeah, they can be protective of the image.
Very. He even lost a close friendship over some insensitive posts back then. A hard lesson.
Ouch. So how did he pivot from that to Mr. Ballin?
Well, kind of accidentally in a way. While he was posting, some aspiring SEALs started commenting, respectfully addressing him as Mr. Ballin.
Mr. Ballin. Where did that come from?
His username was just John B. Allen 416, no punctuation. They just read the B. Allen part as Ballin.
Huh. Okay.
So he sort of adopted that moniker. Then he ran into trouble on TikTok, got shadow banned, he thinks, had to start a new account.
And the new account name was?
Mr. Ballin. MrBallen.
Got it. And that's when things changed.
Big time. This was during the pandemic. He started posting these strange, dark, and mysterious stories on TikTok.
That specific niche?
Yeah. And it just exploded. He became like the token adult storyteller on the kids app, as he put it.
Yeah.
Gained a huge following really fast.
Why YouTube then?
Better monetization, mainly,
Mm-hmm.
and the ability to tell longer stories. TikTok was great for discovery, but YouTube offered more potential for the 20-minute deep dives he wanted to do. This was mid-2020.
And the YouTube channel grew quickly, too.
Incredibly fast.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal growth.
So that leads us to today. He's got a lot going on now, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. Live tours. He's got a graphic novel coming out.
Graphic novel, what's that about?
It's a collection of stories, some new, some fan favorites, illustrated. Sounds like a real passion project for him. Due out October 1st, I think.
Cool. What else?
The Mr. Ballin Foundation, doing charitable work, was nominated for a Creator for Social Good Award.
Mm-hmm.
And Ballin Studios, his production company with Nick Witters.
Ballin Studios. And his family's involved too, right?
Very much so. His wife, Evan, heads up the writer's room. His dad helps manage the Amazon collaboration for his Medical Mysteries book and does some writing.
Wow.
And his mom, Jessie Thuma, was apparently crucial in writing the scripts for the early Mr. Ballin podcast episodes. He mentioned the Amazon deal for the podcast felt like important recognition for her early work.
That's really great. Keeping it in the family.
Yeah, building this whole ecosystem around the storytelling.
It's just quite a journey. Mr. Ballen's story really shows this incredible ability to adapt, to reinvent himself. From the intensity of the SEAL teams to this online storytelling.
It really does. A remarkable capacity to navigate huge life changes and find a completely new path after some really profound experiences.
Yeah, that evolution, from a SEAL dealing with that tough transition to this huge content creator, multiple projects, dedicated following. It says so much about resilience, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Resilience, adaptation, and maybe being open to where life takes you, even if it's completely unexpected.
So as you listen to this, maybe think about those moments of transformation in his story, the setbacks, the unexpected turns, the aha moments.
And maybe reflect on your own journey, what unexpected turns have shaped your path. It's fascinating how skills honed in one incredibly demanding field discipline, perseverance, storytelling perhaps, even can translate so effectively somewhere else entirely.
It really makes you think about transferable skills and just being open to new possibilities, even after major setbacks. A truly compelling story.
Definitely one for the books.
See you soon.